January 8th meeting, and we are being televised and we are being recorded. And is John out there somewhere? No?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought I saw him come up with you. I'm sorry. That's okay. You can go ahead.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I want to introduce our new town administrator. Not an interim this time. This is she's here to stay. And
Here to stay.
Andrea Lamas. And would you just go around and introduce yourself?
I'm Bernie Parada. Nice to meet you.
Tony Mateo.
You know
I'm Dan Campbell. We've met.
Met a couple times.
Sue Kaczynski, Bonnie Little, welcome.
Thank you.
And Deb Kern.
We've met a couple times.
Okay, very good. And so first tonight we have the library budget discussion, and
If you want to pass those things right next to you there.
He passed out budget.
oh, I'm sorry, didn't see it. Thank you. And I've sent out the budget that we got from Deb a while back. So, okay. Oops, she's looking for John, I guess.
We lose it.
So we will go over their budget and then see what she's given us a narrative here. You want to explain a little about it while we read it?
Which one are you? Oh, this one?
Yes.
I didn't know if there was anyone here unfamiliar with the certification, what we had to do to be certified in Massachusetts. So these
Good
are
to go over it, yeah.
Okay, so in order to be compliant to receive state aid, which also means we must be compliant in order for Northfield residents to use any other library in Central or Western Mass. We must be open to the public. We must not charge for library services. We must be open a minimum hours a week. For our town, it could be 15, but we are open 30 hours. We're extremely fortunate. We are open, I believe, more hours than Northampton. The library must employ trained personnel, which means either someone with an MLS or you have to take, if you're in a town under 10,000, you have to take 4 courses from the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. The library must spend a reasonable portion of the library's budget on materials. So a town with populations under 5,000, we have to spend 19.5% of our budget on materials. Because we're open more hours than we're required, we can reduce that to 19%. Since 2006, when right around the time of the recession, they had a series of accommodations where we only had to spend like 15% or 17%. Our state aid was reduced for not being fully compliant. They have now taken that away. They feel the state and the towns are doing well enough to take that away. So we have to go back to spending 19% on our materials. And number 6, the library must lend books to other libraries in the Commonwealth. We provided 2,852 books to items to libraries in Western and Central Mass, and we received 7,997 through our delivery system. And the library must report non-resident circulation. That means we just have a list of people from other towns who use our library. It's just
What about our summer population on the ridge and so forth? Do they come under that, or are they considered?
No, because we
resident?
have them with their Northfield addresses.
Okay,
They are considered residents.
okay.
So at the bottom part, the most important part for us to be certified is the municipal appropriation requirement. And it's met by calculating the average of the last 3 fiscal years and adding 2.5% to that number. So you'll see the numbers for fiscal year 17, 18, and 19 divided by 3. And
Gives us a yearly average.
mhm.
And then 2.5% added to that comes up to the 166,910, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And this does include the appropriation for the field library, which I don't know if you've seen that yet. It's down the street. It's open now 4 hours a week. They've increased from 2 hours a week to 4. And so there you usually receive an appropriation of $650.
They've asked for a $50 increase.
Okay,
this
so
time.
that is included in our, when we apply for state aid, they are part of our application.
The
So
farms
is that
is an
$50
area
already
south of
included in
town.
this?
No, because I
Okay.
didn't know about that.
It
I
has a
have
library.
theirs as
So that's gonna be
$650.
$700.
Yeah, the town doesn't own that library. I think it's the community that owns it down there.
correct. It's private,
Yeah.
and we usually give them a very small percentage of our state aid.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
But yes, I've noticed where they're going to be open more, and they're trying to do like you have activities up here for kids and things.
yes, they have story hour on Saturdays, so
Yeah.
it's great.
I talked to Tracy Norman, and then she referred me to the one that would submit the budget and so forth. Okay, very good. Anybody have any questions on how that's figured this year? All right. Now, for your budget, did you know we're interested in any changes in it? And I noticed that overall, you've got an increase of $1,232, and it's starting out with $1,218 on wages and salaries. Okay, how did you compute that?
The wages and salaries.
Yeah,
I got the
Do you have this?
I
must
did
have had it if I sent it to you.
those salaries are computed at their
Sorry.
This-
2.25%?
this fiscal year. No, at
Or
this
step.
fiscal year's
Yeah,
amounts hourly wage, except for mine, which I included my last step increase. And notice I'm saying my last step increase. I'm at the top
Okay.
now.
In italics.
What's that?
In italics. Bold print.
And so there was a step increase for me and a step increase for the custodian. Those are
Okay.
the only increases that I added in. I don't ever add a COLA since we don't know
No,
at this time whether it's.
okay, so you just said that includes the step increases only, that's the,
Correct.
okay.
For those two positions, and that's what the amount that she used.
Yeah, okay.
And I wrote that I cut back. In the last couple of years, I've received $1,000 for substitutes if we should need them
Yeah.
because we're so short-staffed.
Yeah,
And I wrote that I cut back to 500, and I think that's an error. I think I only did get 500 this year.
so, yeah.
You mean in 19 rather than 1,000, you got 5?
I think so. At first,
She's got it broken
most
out
of the
here more
time,
than it's broken out there.
Yeah,
Deb had it
that's what-
combined.
I don't know why I didn't.
within my
Okay.
regular
Do you
salary
Do you want me to make a
budget.
copy of that?
Oh.
I can run across and make a copy of that for you.
I probably have it at home on a computer. I don't know why I didn't have it. Thank you.
Do you need a copy of that? Oh.
I can make that if you want to
You
give
know
it
what?
to me.
John isn't here, so I have an extra.
Well, okay, thank you.
And if I could have that one, because I
You
don't
got
have
green
that one.
line.
Do you want mine?
Well, I don't have
Okay,
to
so
take your
those
whole
are-
copy.
Those
Yeah.
are some explanation.
Okay.
You know it by heart, don't you?
If you need a copy, I can go make one.
Okay.
Just make one across the hall.
Isn't this here too, right?
You can ask me questions while it's.
No, they're different.
Answer them.
It's different.
Yeah, because they're doing,
It's a two-page thing.
Are
Yeah,
you
it's
finding
both
it hard to
pages.
get substitutes?
Right now, we're able to use as a substitute the woman who just retired from Saturdays, from working on
Okay.
Saturdays, so she's been able to sub. Are you volunteering, Donnie?
No, thank you. I have a full-time job, plus. Because like in 18, you only used 120. So I was just
Well,
wondering.
you know, we didn't need it this year, but after one of my colleagues was out for 3 months, last year, it made me very aware that we really needed to have a budget in case that happened. If either myself or Matt were out and we have sick days, we needed to be able to have
Yeah.
someone in place.
Well, let's see, she's regions.
Lois, I think the figure you mentioned did not include the $50 for the field library. You mentioned an increase of the,
Yeah, because she wouldn't have known about it.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so should that be added in
Yes.
somewhere?
Yes.
instead of 650, it'd be 700 and
Right, at the bottom of page 1 for the Northfield Farms appropriation, that would be 700, bringing our total to,
Here.
you know,
Oh, yeah. There we go.
169,269. Oh, 169.69. 169, 169.
169.
169, 269. Somebody play that number. We'll win the lottery. We'll pay for it ourselves.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. That was, all right.
I do want to say I really messed up on the electric this year.
Oh,
When I was here last year doing the budget, I did not keep in mind the increase in the rate from Eversource, and we're going to go well over our budget.
okay.
I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
So do you figure that the 4650 is going to be enough?
I averaged it on what we're using this year, what we've used.
Because there's
and
going to
the-
be another rate increase. That's what I read.
I actually saw that the other day in the paper after I had handed this in. Is that for residential or for everyone? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Because if there's another increase, then I would not feel comfortable that this would be.
You're going to need more by the end of this year.
I think
19th budget.
that I'll be able to find it in other line items.
Okay.
We're trying to be really good about not having to come to the town.
Yeah.
So I think
But if, I don't know how much it was supposed to be. Do you remember seeing
No.
anything? Did you see it?
I
No?
didn't see a rate increase. I
Yeah.
haven't received anything.
So, you might want to come back and add to that. Or you might not.
should we? Yeah, we'll have to find out if it's a 4% increase. Then maybe just rounding this up to $5,000 would
Yeah.
cover that.
I thought we were going to do some kind of electrical program for the town to basically for.
Yeah, when is that going to kick in?
And that was supposed to save us some money as far as doing.
Aggregation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was passed town meeting.
Yes, it's in process right now. It's going through the DPU, Department of Public Utility process at its pace.
Okay, so any idea when that would kick in? Because that would affect the rates not going up or keeping it stable.
It might be. Yeah.
But I don't think I would count on it for the rates for next year.
Okay.
If it does, it won't be till well into the next year. We still have meetings, and we actually have a meeting scheduled, or meetings being scheduled for March to talk about the actual plans that people will be able to choose from. So
Oh.
even though DPU hasn't kicked out hasn't
Yeah.
approved anything yet, it's still in the process with them. It's still in comment stage.
Okay,
So
so
we're still
that's
planning
probably an
that.
area we'll probably want to revisit maybe a little bit. If you
Okay.
hear that it's coming
So
up.
are you wanting to do it now, though? 5,000 now?
I would say 5,000 if
5,000.
you're going to do that.
Okay, I think that sounds like not too much, but it would. I have to say, I'm always hesitant tend to raise our budget because every time we raise our budget, we have to spend more on materials.
That's right.
I have proposed that at some point the town have a maintenance budget and take all maintenance out of our budget.
You mean like utilities and
You-
that's a,
Utilities, maintenance, and if you do a town budget, put it in a town maintenance budget. Many libraries, the only things that they pay are their CW Mars fee, their materials, and maybe their office supplies and their personnel. And everything else is in the town budget.
we've tried to allocate the cost per building so that we know what those costs were. It's another way of doing it,
Right.
that's all. So you want to up that then
So
to...
that increases your budget by another $350. So we're looking at $169,619.
Okay.
That big 500 you cut back.
So going to what, 5,000 you said?
Yes, that's what she was.
Your fuel last year, your fuel oil,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that was, I mean, it was realistic that you spent 3,800 and you're keeping everything at 7? Has the fuel price gone up? Because right now we're paying half of what we used to pay.
One reason our fuel was 3,800 last year is that was the year I believe they emptied the tanks at town hall.
Oh, and so you got, okay, got transferred.
Yeah, when it went
Okay.
to the wood boiler.
Mhm.
So we have been paying at the beginning, I believe, of this fiscal year. We were paying a rather high amount because of fuel oil left over from the previous fiscal year. We were paying a high per gallon amount. But I think I'm comfortable staying where we are at 7,000.
How's the elevator working these days?
The elevator? Looking
Tommy's
good.
back here, does he have to get called out
I haven't called him this year yet for anyone stuck.
this year? Okay, gee, that's 8 days. Okay, that's fine.
But I do reassure people by telling them that Tom will come running.
Okay,
So there is, on the second page, our elevator maintenance, our fire alarm service, and fire alarm phone. I don't know if those are accurate numbers. Those are just from last year, but that's paid by the town.
yeah,
There's a town elevator.
we put the
Right.
library elevator and the town hall elevator
contract.
together. Yeah,
Did you bid them with the
We used-
Council of Governments?
Yes, this year, the COG.
The bid with the COG?
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing we had separate to start with and then put it together because, for service and that's.
Right, and see, that's great that we don't have that in our budget, because that would be another 19%.
Yeah.
Another.
Before we go to that page, could you refresh my memory on materials? How do you budget for 19.5 and spend 26.7?
Winging a prayer? No, we use our trust funds and our gift
Okay,
funds.
so that's,
And oftentimes, one reason I'm very conservative with the rest of the line items is that if we haven't used our $7,000 in fuel oil, we can use it for materials. Last year, we moved $2,000 from our salary line that we hadn't used. We moved that. We asked for that to be transferred.
okay.
We haven't actually used our trust funds in a number of years. Also, the Friends pay for some of the materials.
It would, sort of in my mind, it would make sense a little bit, if maybe we could know where the difference came from roughly next
Sure,
time.
I could get that
'Cause to
information
me,
for you.
We give you 19.5 and you spend 26. And it looks
You
like,
wonder.
and some areas are down, and like your wages, we would think that you didn't need all you had.
In this year in particular, fiscal year 18 with the 26, that was a year that I believe that was the year that I had someone out for almost 2 or 3 months. And so there was a lot in the salary line that we didn't use and were able to.
I mean, I have no problem moving, it's just remembering everything from year to year. Oh, we give them 19.5 and they spend 26, so where else is it over budgeted, given you too much?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
So the over budgeted, yeah, if we needed to take some off, we still have to meet that minimum, which we've now gone over. The minimum for this year was 166,910.
Anybody else have any questions? Is there anything you'd like to ask about?
Got it.
And do you have anything else you want to tell us about? I didn't see any capital requests this time.
We're fine right now, knock on wood.
That's good. That's great.
That Sam's taking care of our building. He's doing a great job.
Okay. I think that's all then. If you have something else you want to ask of us.
Do you know where my missing trustee is? In 18 years, he's never been missing.
No, he hasn't. Do you think he was away today or something? Well,
You know, I saw him earlier today.
Did you want to explain that we don't make decisions tonight to start us off with?
Okay, yeah. I think she knows the drill, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Just for the public's knowledge, we don't make any decisions. And we don't say, yes, this is great, or no, this isn't good. We have to get all of our requests and then see what money we have and see how far it goes. And that comes down to probably April sometime. And if we're not going to honor the requests, we let you know ahead of time.
Earlier than April.
And we bring you back in and say, okay,
I'm making sure John is here for that
there
one.
you go.
No, so, yeah, probably, well, we should be early into March. We'd hope to be wrapping it up because a lot of time deadlines that have to be met getting ready for town meeting too, so, yeah, that's a good point, Dave.
Bon, if you'd like, I have that information exactly where that money came from. If just out of curiosity, you'd
No, I
like
don't,
to
I
see
don't
it.
need to have a copy of it.
Okay.
You gave me enough information.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I
Okay,
just didn't know
thanks,
how you're
Deb.
printing it.
I
I'd like
hope
to know.
he's, I hope you find him.
Yeah, me too. Tom, do you want to stay?
Sold in.
First one is missed. It's the first time the chairman has missed.
I just must have gotten home before.
All right, next we have Tom Walker. And Tom is used to the drill too, here, what we go through. And he's added an explanation here of things they've accomplished this year. Why don't we, for the sake of the viewing audience, several roads were blacktop based in preparation for rubber product to be applied to the top. Several dilapidated culverts were replaced. Several tons of gravel were placed on local dirt roads. And their objectives for the fiscal year 19, that was 18 accomplishments, and 19, continue improving roads in preparation for applied rubber and stone. Several culverts will be updated. Several more feet of guardrail will be replaced to meet code. Street signs will be brought up to code and installed as needed. And trying to make improvements on using less sand and salt during the winter months. Conversion on trucks to use proper liquid will be made. Maybe you can explain a little when we get to that. There are several new pavement preservation products available we'll be looking into. And Chapter 90 larger projects will be continued. Expect about $320,000 in Chapter 90. We've talked about this before, but this changeover from sand and straight salt and so forth is a liquid type of thing now.
Yeah, it's the liquid's applied to the material to make it stick better. is what it does. Like now, if you see some of these trucks go down the road, the salt bounces.
Yeah.
It's not going to prevent it from bouncing. Part of that is speed, the height, the chutes, things like that. But it makes the salt sticky. So when it drops, it breaks and stays more than blows off. Like that bitter cold we had last year, for instance.
Yeah.
The sand, you could apply it on ice, and 10 minutes later it would blow right off like dry sand. This will help it adhere for the melting process. Plus, we're trying to spray the roads a couple hours prior to a storm to prevent the snow adhering to the road. I haven't been able to get the proper nozzles. I wanted to be doing it this year to try it for our spray truck, but we haven't been able to find the proper.
They're doing it some for the state roads, aren't they?
Yeah, the state uses calcium, and I'm not going to use that. That's really bad for everything. They're using a salt brine, which some of the seminars I've been to, they're going to get away from that. This is an innovative solution, it's called. It's environmentally friendly. It's got some magnesium chloride in it, which helps it from freezing in the tanks. But it works at lower temperatures. Salt, after 20 degrees, salt really stops. It works, but not effectively.
Yeah.
This stuff that we've been investigating into will go down to about 30 below and still be effective.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to stop some of our clumping. We don't have any way to spray our sand as we bring it in. That's the hardest thing. Right now what we're trying to do is set the trucks up so where our sand is conveyed onto the spinners,
Yeah.
it's going to spray on that sand before it goes down on the road.
You can do that? You think?
Yeah, I bought some kits. It's just a lot of work we have to pipe the truck so that we don't have to take the piping off every time we want to use the dump truck as a dump truck. So we've just started doing that now in between sand and stuff that we used to weave the pipe in the bodies and rebuild. I bought some used tanks last year, really reasonable. I got 2 kits last year and I got 2 more coming this year that apply it, but you have to put electrical switches into the cab. The biggest problem I'm having with the spraying on the road is it should be computerized and it's expensive. So we're trying to do it without the computer. We're trying to calibrate. It's not easy because we run it on a motor, so you have to get out and set the throttle where you want it, and then you hope somebody doesn't bump it, so you're just wasting the product.
So the tank for this liquid goes into the body that has the sand or whatever?
Yeah, they're 100-gallon tanks. Are actually the ones that I bought will hang off the tailgate of the truck.
Oh, okay.
So like when we go to haul sand, they have a lift-in hook, and that's what we're trying to make them so that we can disconnect the piping and the wiring and just unhook it and set it on the ground, and then if it snows, you just pick it back up and hook it on and fill the tank.
Okay.
A lot of guys, on the newer equipment, you can buy saddle tanks, they call them, that bolt right to the edges and stay on the trucks.
Yeah.
They're all right. It's just another place. It's like in your normal car, it's another place for stuff to sit.
Yeah.
Doesn't get washed good, starts to rust.
Yep.
So these are removable. They're stainless steel brackets, everything.
Oh, that's good.
It's a matter of retrofitting the trucks.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just like anything today. If you were to buy another new truck, you could spec it all on it. I think you're going to pay twice the money that we've been doing it for.
By retrofitting.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds
And
good.
they're trying to push us away from sand, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I know all I hear is that people are comfortable because they see the brown on the road going up the mountain.
Oh.
And I, for one, when you put salt down, you don't know what's out there. You don't see it. And I've been experimenting the last couple of storms, and I had some people. We had an accident on the Warwick Road, but I was out there an hour before, and they didn't think I had been out and treated it. The road was treated, but they didn't see the brown because I didn't have a lot of sand in it.
Yeah.
Because we've been trying to cut back in the areas near the streams and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the environmental impact.
Maybe we need a public information or something.
There's a lot of information. And everybody will tell you something different. That's the hard part.
Yes.
They tell me how environmentally friendly salt is. I don't believe it. I just not a...
Well, we've got too many wells around that...
And that's one of the problems that I'm seeing out towards your house, and it's not us. It's Warwick has changed pretty much to straight salt. I pass their truck all the time when I go out to the Warwick line.
Oh my
The
God.
last 2 storms they dump it. Well, that goes into the same brook that runs down by our wells. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, we right now 90% of these towns are using close to 1,000 ton of salt, the same size as we are. And I just bought 200 ton right now, and
Yeah.
I bought like 300 ton last year, and still had probably 150 left, mixing it with the sand.
Yeah.
But it's the sand going into the stream killing the fish, is what they're saying.
Really?
The salt disintegrates from the water,
Yeah.
is why they claim it's not as hazardous. But I look at what the state puts down out here, and it really blows my mind what it's got to cost us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
50. We're paying, I think it's $57 rounded off this year. A ton is 56 something.
Yeah.
You know, sand I'm paying $6.90 a ton. So, but I see the difference by
Yeah.
calibrating our truck. The one truck we've done it to, it's just hard to judge. They tell you in the books to do it 10 pounds per lane mile. That's what I've been trying to do it at, but it's not that effective when you get up in the cold spots on the
Yeah.
mountain.
Yeah.
The hard part is learning it and knowing when to turn your dials and stuff up in the colder spots.
Oh.
And when you got guys that have been there 10 years, they're just used to turning it on and going.
And yeah.
It's hard to say, well, you got to turn that back 2 clicks
Yeah.
and this. That's the hard part. Plus, the other hard part is the chutes on our trucks. We usually leave them open and vary our speed with our chains. So if you get into a situation where the truck starts to slide, you can crank the knob up and it'll dump a ton of sand quick.
Oh.
But when you're putting salt down, you only open your chute about that much. So you can turn this dial up all at once. All it's doing is putting all the pressure against the door, because normally we run them 4 to 5 inches.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
with the salt, you only run it at about an inch.
Oh.
So if you get into a situation of a slide,
That isn't going to help you. No.
it's not going to help you.
No.
And I've said it for years. I mean, I tell my guys all the time, if you're not comfortable and you turn it up, I'm not hollering at you for using an extra truckload of sand, because that truck's $300,000.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not preventable, an accident. That's why they're accidents. But
Yeah.
the other day they wouldn't even. I had to back partway down Orange Road, for instance, a week ago Friday,
Yeah.
and back down off the backside of Wendell Road, because the trucks were just actually sliding on the sand they were putting down. And I went around just with the 1-ton truck
Yeah.
backing down.
Yeah.
So there's not, and the front sanders, they work better. Everything does. It's just the dirt roads we have they're killers.
Yeah. Yeah.
4 Mile Brook, there's a lot of cold areas. I mean, was it Sunday night we had that little burst of snow,
Yeah.
and it was a sheet of ice. And I mean, I headed over as soon as it started snowing. And by the time I got up into Cold Springs Hill up through the Gulf Road, it was glare ice already.
Yeah.
And it's unpreventable. I mean, you do the best you can do.
You ever thought, I mean, if it gets so bad, you close Gulf Road like you do in some of the other towns? If it gets
We try, but usually by the time we can you got to close it out. You got to get somebody on the Irving side
True.
and somebody on this side. That's the biggest problem. Is people that live up there. I'll pass them halfway up the hill. They're off the side. They know enough to stop.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. We get so much more traffic on that road, and people don't understand the road. They've only been on it maybe once, and they come down there through the wintertime, and they're off the side of the road.
To be honest with you, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. Karen Browning called me and said people are flashing their lights. It was a flash freeze. It was,
Yeah.
and I said, okay, I'll head over. I got to get a truck. And then she called back, and from Alexander Hill, you couldn't even. It was one of the hardest times I had getting up the hill, but the cars coming down, they were doing 60, 70 miles an
I know,
hour. If they
I
had
know.
to stop,
They could. I've gone around 360 a couple times. That wasn't really going fast. Luckily,
I had cars passing me the other night going up it, and then they'd spin around in front of me.
Huh.
But they pass you going up there. They pass you on the corners. It's not a pretty road. I don't even like working on it, to be honest with you, because they don't. You're targeting the road to these people, and it's
Yeah.
Vermont, New Hampshire.
They
New York.
had
You
a
want to
lot
see
of
some New York?
Oh, I know.
No, it's
Speed.
amazing. The New York
take
cars
a
that come
Friday
down to you.
afternoon as far as doing that. You'll be
Oh, yeah.
1,000 cars on that thing in 2 hours. As far
I
as
had probably 30 cars behind me the other night by the time I got to the Irving line. Just saying,
Wow.
some of them
So-
stayed and some of them passed.
So again, what would it take to close that road in inclement weather? Then?
You got to get a cop on both ends when it turns bad. And when it
What
turns,
do
it
they, I
turns
mean,
quick.
they used to do this. I'm trying to get off the subject here because I don't want to be here all night. But down in East Hampton, they closed that road.
Yeah.
What Mountain Road all the
Over the
time.
hill.
But it
yeah.
should be closed. The biggest problem is it should be closed out at Route 2. But see, then then you get into the GPS. It routes them over Mountain Road to Old Wendell Road. Then they go down South Mountain Road, which might not be any better.
Yeah, right.
We're not running the highway department tonight.
Speaking of GPS,
Okay.
I was told today, you know, because we say, okay, truck traffic has increased over Gulf Road because they come off 2, GPS sends each truck. Somebody told me today there's a separate GPS for trucks that would keep them off
yeah,
something
there
like
is.
that.
There is, yes.
I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know people who haul trailers and stuff like that have there's a different program that you put on there that it keeps you away from these hazardous
Getting
roads.
into those
Yeah, but
situations.
the big problem is the rerouting stuff that I see it on South Mountain during the summer months when we're working up there. It's unbelievable, the trailer trucks, and the guy will, because it shows Old Wendell Road on the GPS going all the way through, and
Yeah.
I said, I don't think you're going to make it with that.
And
but-
where do you turn around?
Well, that's the hard part. I mean, these are fancy all over there, and everyone you talk to said it's the easiest route for them to get to 91 to go south, is what their GPS is telling them, which...
Oh my gosh.
If I tell these guys, if you stayed right on Route 2, it takes you on to 91.
Sure.
I mean, where you were at and where you've turned to now, you got yourself in a mess.
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, let's go over your budget here. Pretty much the same, isn't it?
I left everything the same. It worked last year. I mean, we did get a lot more work done by the increase in the highway, bridges, and rails money.
Yeah. Okay.
The product has gone up, obviously. The rubber product that you spoke of that we've been using has definitely made what I can see. In all honesty, I'm going to try it on the front of South Mountain next year because we used it on the backside of South Mountain, and it's really been, the guy that plows that side doesn't have anywhere near the trouble of the guy that plows this side. And because it's got some grit to it, it's like sand because it doesn't actually, it's not smooth. That's what I put on the road that goes over to the transfer station when we blacktopped it to get the profile back in the road, so for the water to run off. Then we sprayed it. That all we did was put a base coat to fill the wheel ruts, get our profile back, and then I sealed it with that rubber. That's the same stuff.
Okay. We'll have to get you a tour of the roads in town.
Well, we were
Yeah,
going
what,
to do
how-
it, but this week is not the week.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't know if you had met Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd already met him.
Yeah.
A couple
Okay.
times we've talked.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's really nothing on your budget that has really gone up.
No, I didn't increase
At
anything.
all.
The cemeteries have been doing good, and we did a 3-year contract with Snows, and it's not going up a whole lot over the period of 3 years.
And the garage maintenance, that's,
I've left that because we've been doing we've been trying, I mean, we rebuilt the old barn and use it as a shed and a tool. We got all our signs and stuff hanging in it now. Sam actually replaced all the rot. He's done a lot on that this past year and painted it. The wood stove has been working great as for the heat.
okay, so that's.
The snow, I left the wages like I do for the COLA
Yeah.
because sometimes the wages also are compensated with the Chapter 90 money that we do that
Okay, yeah.
reimburses.
Yeah. And, all right. Okay, there's a little change in your capital plan, isn't there, on the
Yeah.
years?
From last year, I really like the loader that we have. We haven't had any problems, knock on wood.
Okay, so that's pushed.
I wanted to try to keep it another couple of years. I had a big discussion with the guys and they like it.
Yeah,
We haven't had any problems with it, so we've decided that it's still in good shape. I
Okay.
mean, we take care of it.
and the chipper you've put out to 24, I noticed.
We don't put that many hours. I mean, if we had obviously a lot of more ice storms, we're going to put some hours on it. But that's all the stuff we have. Honestly, is in really good shape. The only huge problem we're having is this problem, like I talk about every year, is this computers.
Yeah,
And I haven't figured out what to do about it. I've got one truck that's been, I don't know how many times, it's been to 3 different mechanics and runs good one day and then he's calling me the next day, he can't make the hill. By the time he gets back to the garage, it's running fine. They put an injector in it last week And then he called, he says, it's running great. Then he called back 5 minutes later, he says, no. And when I took it back over, they said that same injector's cutting in and out.
Which one is this? Which vehicle?
The 07 dump truck.
Okay.
So I was over there, I picked it up Friday night because it was over there, and he says, well, the light's out, I can't tell you, it's not reading anything again.
Oh,
And he ran it, well, we ran it at Sunday, we ran it all day today, and it hasn't come back on. But we got
Great.
another truck over there that the speedometer right now is reading 85 miles an hour when you're doing
Whoa,
5
yeah.
miles an hour.
Jeez.
So
technology's great. You know,
I've looked into a computer, honestly, but they're expensive, and the problem that we're having, if we buy this computer, I would like to try to do it and share it with another town if they
diagnostic one.
Yeah,
the
it's
garage.
70. We found one. Sam did a lot of research on them, and he found one that comes with a laptop and all the programs we need for the brands of equipment and trucks that we have.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is the updates every year, are like $1,200 sometimes.
Plus the training too. No, that's not a lot.
Energy you lose.
Well, the first initial cost of it, I mean, and then I talked to some of these big truck garages, and they're like, well, yeah, but then the upgrades, and you know, sometimes they might go more than that, so it's hard. That's why I said if I could find another town or two. The problem is we all got different trucks.
Yeah.
So what is the cost of the computer then?
The whole unit. I mean, every time I take it to Raymond's or Porter's, it's $100 just to plug it in.
Okay, but what is the cost to?
It's $7,500 to purchase
To purchase
it. The one that we found that comes with all the latest and greatest. I think there's 7 different pieces we can do with it: the International, the GMCs, the loader, the excavators, and stuff.
Yeah.
Plus $1,200 a year.
Roughly, that's what they've all told me it costs. But the thing that I'm not understanding about is that $1,200 just for the International dump truck, $1,200 for the GMC. I gotta do a little more research into that.
Each one is separate. Yeah.
Right, and that's what I think these guys are getting at. A lot of these guys will only do certain ones because they just concentrate on, say, International truck.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any way around it, unfortunately. By buying new, I have actually looked at trying to find a used truck because we can't even work on them ourselves. You open the hood and we can change the oil. But nowadays too, sometimes if you change the oil, or sometimes like we had to change the sensor in the windshield washer fluid, and you have to take it over to get it reset, otherwise the light's on all the time.
Takes over.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's little things like that, but they're on unless you take it somewhere, pay the money to have it reset.
So that resetting, is that something the computer does?
Yes, on some vehicles. The
Okay.
GMC trucks we have, you can shut it off, I think it's 3 times, or disconnect the battery for 9 seconds, reconnect the battery, then shut the truck, start the truck 3 or 4 times. It might clear itself, it might.
Just to kill the light.
To clear the code that you've done something,
Yeah.
you fixed it. But
Okay.
I sent a truck to Auto Mall, I don't know, a month ago, and then I had the inspections all done, and the day the inspection guy showed up, the light came back on, so it failed the inspection because the engine light was on.
Do you know the life of this computer?
That's what we're looking into. I just...
The life for itself, not
The
not
diagnostic
programs,
one, you
but
mean.
Right, I don't know enough about it. Sam's been really researching it all, and he brought me down some literature 2 days ago. I haven't really had time to read up on it.
That doesn't seem to me that big of an investment that's going to save all the time and energy and running around.
Yeah, and I mean, I know the town of Vernon, I talked to them because they have 3 other International trucks like ours.
So it's like
They're in a boat where
so-
I don't think anybody knows what's going on.
$100 to plug it in, plus you have to have a guy bring it down there, so it's more than $100.
Right, or you leave it.
And he has to stay there for
Yeah.
whatever. So you're talking a couple $100 just to get it there.
Yeah.
And that adds up over a period of time. If you had money left in any fund at the end of the year to transfer into
Well, that's what I was hoping, like my machinery maintenance, I mean,
Yeah.
knock on wood right now, I mean, we've been catching up on a lot of maintenance stuff that we've put off because we've had a mild winter and haven't had any major breakdowns.
You might want to think that route. If you get towards the end of the year, if you had something left, you could maybe
Yeah.
transfer it from one fund and be able to purchase something like this. It's going to save you money over a long time.
Might not require a transfer. if
Yes.
you're talking
Right.
about-
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The diagnostic, if you use that, maybe some of your men could do the work or not. Would you still?
Yeah, we do a lot of, that's the other big problem.
Yeah.
Like I can go over to Raymond's and they'll say, okay, the right front puck and the brake needs to be changed. But then I got to take it back over there to have them reset it after we change it. So now you've driven it over there for them to tell you. I might as well leave it there and
And
say
they're
put
gonna
the
charge
puck
you
in.
each time to show up with it.
So I guess the question too is, you guys have the expertise. Once you find out something's wrong, in most cases, be able to take care
Right.
of yourself if you knew what it
Because
was.
most of the times it's a sensor, which you can reach in and unscrew somewhere and change it out. But it's to figure
Knowing
out
which
which
one. Exactly.
sensor it is.
Exactly.
And I mean, the same thing happened with the sewer truck. That's actually why I've been running that, because the mice got into it.
Ooh, still again? Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was sitting there.
No.
Oh,
It was sitting down there, and we took 7 mice nests out of it. It's got 2,000 miles on it, and they've been chewing the wiring, so we had to patch the wiring harness. One of the sensors went bad because they chewed the wire off and it shorted to the other wire. So this is, I mean, our garage, we don't have the mice. The sewer plant,
yeah.
Well, because you're running stuff and there's people around and stuff like that. Sewer plant, nobody's around. It's just-
well, and even the shed. I mean, I think, honestly, the rat poison we put around, I think it's a delicacy to them now. I think they're used to it. It's,
they just
Well,
love
the
it, man.
truck before that, they called the mouse truck.
right. That was one of the big things about it. That's why right now, and we actually left them our snowblower, the big snowblower to use. And he called me the other day. He says, my dog goes nuts when I bring him down. And Sam went down and found they got into that because we hadn't put any poison around the edge of it. It's only been down there for a week.
Oh my God.
Do you ever think about hiring a professional
Exterminator.
pest control that comes and does
I don't
stuff?
know. We haven't talked about it down
It's
there.
made a
'Cause
huge difference at our place. On a regular basis, people know what they're
Yeah.
doing, they check and redo and all of that. It may save a lot of time and energy of repair. That for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, then the vehicles, it's, let's see, let's see, you're doing back, now, the 3/4 ton.
That's,
You've gotten away from those and gone to the bigger ones.
well,
also.
this is for like a parts truck.
Yeah,
Getting rid of, yeah, because we've switched most of our, right now we're running a spray tank on one of the bigger spray tank that we use, that we were running on that old fire truck for a while. We actually
Yeah.
put on one of these. We don't have anything, that's one reason we took this truck too. If we break a hydraulic hose in the middle of the night, a couple of my guys are taking their own to run and get one.
yeah,
I don't think they should throw it in the back of their truck by any means.
no,
And there's a lot of times if I have to go somewhere that leaves them without a truck to pull the York rake or things like that, I put this in here, but the possibility, there's been talk as a sewer commissioner on the other side,
yeah,
whether this truck needs to stay down there with what happens with the new operator.
You're
There
gonna-
was talk if there was a way for the highway to reimburse the enterprise fund and actually just take this truck that I've been using.
Okay.
It's just a small discussion that we've been having because, again, it sits. They've had it for 2 years down there and it had 2,000 miles on it.
Yeah, brand new.
Right, and for it to get chewed up and everything
Yeah.
else, that's the big, we're
Waste.
still in the process of hiring an operator.
Yeah,
So that's, depends on what happens if that person wants to use their own vehicle to, come to the town hall and get mileage like they did before.
yeah,
Because right now, technically, they only have the one operator once we hire somebody, so they can't do anything themselves. They can't go into a manhole, so I've been sending Sam to help on anything because you have to have, safety-wise, have to have
Sure.
somebody involved.
Sure.
Or even when they're working next to the tanks down there.
oh, yeah.
And they've been happy with me plowing. The first couple of small snowstorms I plowed, they opened the gates when I got there and I plowed it out.
Now, they had a plow for this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just sitting over to the garage because it was in the way over there. So when I started bringing that truck, took the truck out of there, they wanted the plow out of there. But
Sure.
it has a plow. I mean,
Yeah.
it has everything.
But you've been plowing them out with the highway trucks, eh?
Yeah, that's how we used to do it.
So if this idea comes to fruition, then you wouldn't have anything.
Anything this year to ask for. It's just a matter of having a meeting where we can sit and discuss different options that we're going to do down
Sure.
to the sewer.
Are you close to hiring somebody?
We did 2 interviews last night,
Yeah.
so hopefully we'll get
And by the way, your budget, you're gonna get that in?
Oh, for sure.
Alex turned it to Sandy, I think,
Oh, okay.
but it's subject to change, Lou, because
Yeah.
nobody's been there. We haven't even
Okay.
seen it.
All right, anybody have any other questions about the capital plan?
On the bottom line in the budget, last year's budget, okay, 796, 128. Is that correct? That's on the second page.
Of the highway part of
Of
it?
the highway, yeah.
Third.
On third page then. Bottom line.
Yeah,
796, 120, 328. 128.
128, yeah.
And this year's budget,
Was 823, 991.
okay. And that's what we're asking for again.
Correct, other than if there was a COLA raise, that would go up. If we decide on a COLA, it would change the salaries a little bit, that's all. So that bottom number would go up a little bit.
Right. So.
But for anything else, everything else, I would call it level funded
Yeah.
to what I had asked for last year.
You've just changed some categories around out of one to the other.
Pretty
and
much.
all the
Right.
Bottom
We're-
line is the same.
Yeah.
See,
Some of the other
generally,
things you didn't put on here, you also helped out at the school with the basketball, that area too, didn't you? And down in that area?
Yeah, we did all the labor there.
Yeah.
And the drainage, they paid out of the, that money that we had.
CPA, yeah.
Well, yeah, they had an account, I think it was $75,000 we had, and then
Yeah.
they put a little more in. We ended up doing a few extra things, but the charity group ended up paying for, like, we put a block wall along that one side of the court. They ended up paying for that.
you got
we
a
did a
fence
little-
around it
Yep,
now.
fence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fence was all, that was part of it to start with. They didn't want the block wall, but it was too steep for the generator when we got done.
Oh,
I haven't talked to them with all this rain, but I know they used to get flooded, and I haven't heard Peter say a word since we paved the front and put the drainage pipe in.
Speaking of drainage, anything happening here, or do you know?
That's in the works. Well, I say it's in the works. The guy's coming the 10th to walk
Okay,
the project and give us some ideas,
so you're looking at spring?
hopefully. And we're hoping to get a number together, I mean, there's some money there, and we're seeing, the big thing is the land out here. We don't have the land at daylight, and we want to make sure before we ask to purchase that piece of land, we can daylight something legally with all the conservation codes. And that's,
So that's what, because people keep asking why.
yeah, Tide and Bond is doing 2 culverts for us right now, Holton Street and South Mountain Road, and Zach is coming to review them with me the 10th, and then we're gonna take a look at this.
how many guys do you have right now on the highway crew?
5 full-time, and then the summer help, 6. He's part-time.
Yeah.
Plus one, right? You said 6 all total, right?
Yeah, total 6.
Okay, the 5 full time.
And then I have the part-time secretary.
Yeah, yeah. And the summer, is that the one that you got them to appoint temporary part-time?
Yep.
And is that so he'd plow?
He's
or-
plowing and sanding with us, and
Okay.
yeah, it's
That's-
working
okay.
good. We only used Johnson the first time because I had a guy out. The guy just came back today, actually.
Okay.
Um,
Now, Sam is not added into that 5, or is he?
He's on there, but part of his salary comes, we've got it broke down now with the maintenance.
Yeah.
I put his hours in under maintenance
Good.
on my payroll.
We still have that line item for maintenance.
Yeah, for the maintenance money,
So
so
he's
she,
included in the 5.
yes.
Okay.
You did an excellent job in my office, I want to tell you. The floor
Oh,
was
thanks.
great. Doesn't smell like the other one did as far as doing it, like in
Yeah.
Garrett. And the walls, it did a great job. And it did it.
Takes a
very
lot of
timely.
pride, he takes a lot of pride in his work, I
Yeah.
gotta
You
say
did a good
that.
job there. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, now about a year and a half or so ago, you hired someone that's a foreman.
Yeah,
Okay, that situation hasn't changed.
nope,
Yeah.
he's here, he's still here. The only thing that hasn't happened is we were gonna do performance reviews on
Okay.
2 other guys, Sam being one and Arnie being the other one. By the downsizing, and the reviews haven't been done.
Yeah.
With everything going on, I was on a list to talk to Andrea.
Okay, Because I think at that time, to get that man in that position, you were giving up one vacancy.
Right, and then we were gonna try to get the other guys a little bit more money because they were underpaid to make sure they stayed around.
I see. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any questions for Tom? Anything you want to say?
No, I think Tom and I have talked very briefly.
Sure.
I did want to talk to him about road, not that I have anything to do with the maintenance of the road, but one of the things that I'd like to do is I'm going to ask to get a couple of maps done up, and I've reviewed that you had a study done, and I'd like to work with him just on some priorities, only because certain types of roads allow us to go after certain types of funding potentially, and I'd like to see if I can help him find some additional funding sources. And I'm just exploring now what the town might be eligible for, whether there's community development block grant money, whether the town's eligible for that because there's an infrastructure component there. Mass Works, obviously Mass Works grants. I don't know if the town's ever had a Mass Works grant. You can get up to $1 million there on a project. And those are the kinds of things but I need to talk to him and see what his priorities are.
Sure.
And then there's qualifications for each one of those. And so we have to find the eligible road that would work where he has a project, and try and get some of those projects off the ground to pick away at the list.
'Cause that's what happened this summer. Is a lot of people know that School Street got narrowed down to one lane, which it created quite a havoc because Burnham Road was already down to 9 ton, and so now you kind of box it in for your fire department for Burnham Road area. So a grant to get either one of those bridges done would be a huge.
Okay.
And Old Vernon Road isn't getting any better. That's a good sized project there with that box culvert, and we've talked about that for 5
There
or
are
6
small
years.
culvert grants. Primarily, they will help you start with, at least with the engineering, and then you can go from there.
Those we have tried for, and a lot of our culverts are 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, and I think it was 10 foot.
They have to be under. If it's under 10 feet, it's a culvert, and then you go to the culvert grant. If it's over 10 feet, then you can go for the small bridge grant program. So
I know the guy came out and drove around and we looked, and he says, well, and unfortunately, the year he came out, he said School Street would be eligible, and everybody said, no, not right now, and then they closed it this past year. So with the possibility of us getting that grant for that a couple of years ago was here.
Yeah.
After we drove around, he said that and the bridge, so.
yeah. So we've got to touch base now on priorities.
Sure.
I have to get from him what his priorities are, what's eligible. I mean, I have a lot of stuff in there. It's been thrown around. I know there is engineering going on in several different places. But then once I do that, then hopefully I can help him prioritize.
What are we,
those
about 90 miles of road?
Yeah.
So there's always projects.
Yes.
It's
always.
still like 21 miles of dirt.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot.
Some people prefer the dirt, though. A lot of them do. They wouldn't.
Yeah, they do, but it's a lot of
It's a
maintenance.
lot of work.
I know
It's a
it is,
lot of
but
maintenance. I mean, again, this spray that we've changed to helped considerably. Honestly, I mean, when I started here, we were probably grading 4 or 5 times with the traffic on the roads. And some of the improvements on 4 Mile Brook with the drainage things that have been done over the years. We still got quite a bit of improvement out by Jaworski's farm on the Irving side. That gets pretty muddy still. But getting the gravel and spraying and rolling, even the new guy that came everywhere, he worked in row for 15 years, and he says, I don't know what you do to your roads, he says, but it packs, and it's actually all last summer with the rain we had, several towns come over and they were asking me what I did because they were grading constantly with potholes. Unfortunately, after the freeze and thaw we've had in the past 2 weeks, they're a mess, and there's nothing you can, because they freeze every night and you can't do anything about them. You can't go in and dig it and try to do it right. And like the other day, we were spreading gravel because cars were bottoming out, like out by Jaworski's, because the ruts go so deep.
Really?
But it was froze solid where you couldn't even dig it anyway. So and now the potholes after the rain we've had the last couple of days, they're back. But those were caused, a lot of it, because it wasn't frozen when we first plowed either.
Yeah.
But throughout the whole summer, I have to say, with the torrential rain we had, we were very lucky. And
Well,
something,
that
I
was
don't
it.
know, it's.
Even plowing driveways and so forth, the ground wasn't
Oh, yeah.
frozen with that first snowstorm. A lot of lawns got
Oh,
torn.
yeah.
So, okay,
All
very
right.
good.
Okay,
Thank you very
thank
much,
you.
Tom.
See you later.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we'll take up the minutes. That was a joint meeting on December 3rd with the select board, and we had the financial officer from Pioneer here. And so Beth and Sandra got together on the minutes, and so that's what we got here. The select board, I think, approved.
I make a motion to approve the December 3rd minutes.
Second.
There's a couple of ins that need to be changed to is.
Where's that?
1, 2, 3, fourth line down under the presentation.
The bullets, the fourth one?
Yeah, the
Fourth one.
first bullet, second bullet rather.
Split.
Status of the state overseer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, should be, is in
Yeah, in
communication.
the school lunch program, status of the current program is known and right.
Oh, yeah. And where's the other one, Bonnie?
That's what two.
The first one, she's.
Oh, status of the state overseer is in communication.
Yeah, that's the one I marked.
And then the
Okay.
school lunch program. The program
Is
is
running.
running.
Yeah, right, good point. Thank you. Okay, so your motion is that be approved as corrected?
No, that would be Bernie.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected by Bonnie's corrections there, and move to approve them.
And Dan Campbell seconds.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I watched that on the TV, so I'm saying aye.
Perfect.
Okay, sure.
But if you make a motion, since we don't have our secretary here, we probably should say her name.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. And we have a reserve fund transfer request. We did, no? It's more money to do work over there on Caldwell Road.
I'll let you borrow this one.
Sure, thank you. I could use that to sign it. All right, did Bernie talk to you about this?
I've read the material,
Okay,
so I'm familiar, let's say.
okay. He submitted it a while back, and then, he contacted me, and I said, gee, we aren't meeting until January, do you need it before then, and so forth, and then he came back and said, no, it wasn't needed right away, and I guess it is still maybe a question about how much.
The proposal that I have from Ty and Bond is for 6,000, and there's about 33,
Left.
there's less than 3,000, so he's trying to get to that figure
Yes,
to have them finish up
yeah,
the work.
okay.
So that's the difference that I think he's trying to
Yeah.
get to in the request.
So this is to be transferred to that account, the foreclosed property maintenance account. And it's for documentation, supervision, removal, and disposal of contaminated soil on 314 North Caldwell Road to allow the site to be fully remediated and ready for reuse or sale at 6,500 plus contingency, you're right. And
There's just a small patch of contaminated soil that just has to be
Okay.
finished out.
Yeah. Take action now will save the town reporting and remediation costs in the future. Can be put off until the next fiscal year, but costs and reporting requirements will increase. So we need to act prior to January 18th, he's saying. And this is a transfer from our reserve fund, and there's enough money certainly there to cover it. What's your
So-
pleasure with that?
So,
Bonnie, made the motion to approve it.
Dan Campbell, second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. The sooner we get that taken care of, I guess, the better. And transfer in the sum of 3,500, yeah.
Do you know the acreage down there, Lois?
Pardon?
The acreage? The
No, I
total
don't.
plot size?
don't.
Okay.
You don't remember?
No, I don't know that I've seen that yet. I've seen the specifics on this, but I haven't. And I've seen some information on this project,
Right.
but I can't say that
The acreage, yeah.
I mean, it's probably in there. I just
Now
wouldn't be able
this,
to tell off the top of
Done
my
other
head.
priorities.
Off the top of my head, it didn't stick.
this needs to go to the accountant. Could you take it?
We have to make. I'll make multiple copies. Yeah, I'll keep it too. So
Yeah.
copies, and then you want a copy back. Do you keep it for your records?
No.
Okay. I will make sure that it goes to.
Okay, thanks, Ann.
Communications.
All right, communications. We've got a few. I sent out to you, as I said, I was spending time this weekend following up, and then I happened to run into Bill Llewellyn here yesterday, and he had sent in the Ag Commission. He thought he had sent this one too. He's chair of both. But it's level funded, so I said, okay, level, we'll take the statement. And I sent that out to you, in case you're keeping records on me. There's something coming up. I think we've heard in the past that our communication system for the radio system, that we pay, the fire, police, and ambulance each pay something toward it each year, an assessment. We've been hearing that it's deteriorating. It's coming. So I have this email that in the coming months, the public safety community and town officials will need to decide on the future of emergency communications in Franklin County. The system is out of date and failing, does not meet communication needs for those who protect us. In an effort to provide a venue for discussion prior to deciding whether to invest in upgrading the current system or joining the Commonwealth state system, the COG and the Franklin County Emergency Communication System Oversight Committee is having a meeting and about the state of it and options for the future. And the objective is to provide stakeholders with the most up-to-date information available to try to find a consensus. And they're inviting, the three department heads that we have, select boards and finance chair. So it's January 31st. I'm going to try to go to it. So
I'll be there.
you're going to go? Good. Okay, it's at GCC.
This is a project that's been going on for a while, and they're talking about new towers.
Yes.
Some are inefficient. Some areas aren't even served.
No.
They're not. They actually have to leave where they are to get to certain places to actually make calls
Yeah.
and to go back.
There's the
because
dips and stuff like that. that
As you
just,
go up the hills, it gets
Yeah.
harder and harder. It's not even effective. So
really
they've been talking a long time about a new system.
upgrading. Yes.
They've sent out an email that shows kind of the plan of where these towers would possibly be for coverage, but it is a new system, which would then mean new communications devices.
Excuse me.
That's what the police chief was talking
Police
about.
chief is asking
fire.
for additional.
It'll be
I
police,
don't know
fire.
what it is.
Right, and now there are, I do know that they're trying to go after some funding as well at the county level, the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, to see if they can get some money towards equipment, but hopefully.
Do you want to make any comment about the state system, or would you rather wait?
I don't know. I think that this is the meeting to ask those questions, and then
Yeah.
hopefully see if they think they're going to be able to get any funding as well. I think all those questions will be
Yeah, at that time.
good questions at that time to see.
Okay.
Because if everybody in the county has to do it, they might be able to make some kind of
Yeah.
pitch to the emergency management services,
Yeah.
federal, either FEMA or MEMA or state funding to try and get some assistance at least to help
I would
pay for.
hope. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
they're trying to do that.
Before she left, Debbie gave us the November balances. So I don't know about the Well, let me announce the staff changes until you know who I'm talking about. The accountant that took Debbie's place is a man by the name of Phil Gilfeather Girton. And he worked with Debbie for a little bit and seems to be interested in what he's doing, and no one knows what he's doing. So he's got to learn Northfield, of course, as any of them do, and so forth. So.
But he's processing warrants, which is always a good sign. That means the bills are getting paid. So.
Okay. All right. And we have had, and still have, an interim treasurer and tax collector, Mary Stakarski, who's retired from Deerfield doing those positions. And now they've hired Melissa Murphy, who's from Bernardston, for those positions, and I understand she's started work yesterday.
It started this week, so they're
Yeah.
overlapping right now for training purposes.
Yeah. She has had some experience in the positions, I believe.
Yes.
Okay?
Do they still have a part-time one that was helping before?
Yes.
So if somebody's out, she can fill, or he or she
Yeah.
can fill. Okay,
Yeah.
part-time is still
There,
okay.
that was,
It's certainly helping during the transition, and then a lot of that will have to be discussed,
yeah.
I think, to kind of rearrange.
Leslie,
But,
wait a minute. No, not Leslie. What's
There's
it?
also-
Baronis. Tracy Baronis.
And then there's some discussion that I've been slowly discussing with each department about some maybe changes to how we're going to do payroll, and to try and make some things more streamlined, more efficient in that office. There's a lot of work being done in that office that actually could be done through a service that's being done manually. And the reporting requirements are just onerous.
Yeah.
When you think of all the tax reporting and now all the medical reporting, you have to report all the health insurance data every year. And, there's quarterly filings, tax implications. There's everybody's payroll taxes. It's a lot of work to be doing it.
In-house.
To do it in-house. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of time
Yeah.
from a position of which is only part-time.
Yeah.
Do you know if the budgets will stay the same? We're just gonna assume?
Well, that's part of this. She
We're
and I
going to work
talked
with,
yesterday.
right, we're going to work with her. She's still exploring the call. I mean, probably not. If we do go with a service, she's probably going to have to put in an annual cost of that. But in exploring what we've seen for numbers, it wasn't a huge expense. I mean, they were willing to set her up for $500, and she could afford that in this year's budget probably. But it would probably be a couple $1,000s a year you have to pay. It has to do with the number of employees you have and how
Right,
many
by the
checks
time you do it, right.
Yeah.
they have to generate, which is another thing that I'm advocating for, is that the select board vote to go to mandatory direct deposit, because you can do that, and that would eliminate.
Would you be going like bi-weekly then, or something
Yes.
like that? Yeah.
The idea is to go bi-weekly
Yeah.
direct deposit.
Yeah.
But I want I want to go to every department. I want to explain it. I want to talk about it, and so that everybody's comfortable with it.
Sure.
And it would allow for a lot more in-house tracking of things.
That's why we
on
don't.
people's actual statements, everything, their leave balances. We'd go to a new timesheet so that would go. So that there's a few pieces that have to interface and implement here, but I think in the long run, she's very supportive of doing that, and she's looking into it. And I really think for smooth operation, clearing up a lot of things that are out there that are manually being tracked, I think it's really the way to go. And different people are on different payrolls, schedules, and everyone needs to be on the same payroll schedule. I think in all fairness and equity and ease for the treasurer to be.
So
some checks
that's
are being
why we
mailed, some
don't
checks are being
have the
handled.
budget yet for the accountant and the tax collector and
Right.
treasurer. It's hinged on a lot of
Right,
these things.
and the other thing that we may be coming to, and she's exploring this as well, and I'm saying this because it will be a capital request, new tax collection software. And she's looking at that. The tax collection software that the tax collector is currently using is extremely out of date in terms of modernization. It's not Windows based. It doesn't even support a mouse. And so it's a system that's very reliant on a very specific program that is no longer supported. And I think that's a risk to the town. and the town needs to step it up. So they need to have, she needs to work with the assessor on that, because those are two systems that have to interface. The assessor generates the data, and it has to be converted into data that will then produce tax bills. So that's another project that's going to take some time, because my hope is probably starting in February, we're going to start a financial team, and we meet regularly between the accountant, the treasurer, assessor, and myself to deal with the financial pieces, and as a team we can make some decisions as a group that would support all the offices.
Okay, thank you. As far as the overseer over at Pioneer, the state overseer, it's not someone that's employed by the state. He used to be. He used to work for DOR, as I understand it. But he's doing consulting work like this now. It's a man by the name of Rick Kingsley, and he has called each of the chairs of the finance committees of the 4 towns, and he's in contact with them and has been over at Pioneer and so forth. So that position has been filled. I got this morning. My counterpart in Bernardston sent this. She said, Bernardston and Select Board and Finance Committee met in a joint meeting last night. Among the discussions was the potential second payment on the lunch deficit. Now, that's been back and forth. You know, we voted to pay it off in 3 years, $270,000 total. And we voted the first of the 3 payments this past annual town meeting. And then there's a hold up, no, that's got to go into the borrowing bubble. No, it hasn't, yes, it has. Now, I believe a bill came this week. Bernardston got theirs for the first payment of it, and we had voted at town meeting our share of it.
Right, you have an appropriation for that.
Yes. So now, our thoughts were at that time that we'd be voting 2 more years of it. Now they're telling us over there from Pioneer that no, that's got to be wrapped into this borrowing for the deficit, which is now under $500,000. So here's what they talked about in Bernardston last night. Potential second payment. We discussed the possibility that each town would vote to pay the second year of their share of this deficit by a vote at town meeting. Such a vote would allocate the money from free cash or another immediately available source so that payment would be made this year in the current fiscal year. The object of this action would be to save the towns the interest expense on $90,000. The state has suggested that this borrowing legislation was passed to allow this borrowing, and therefore it does not take a town meeting vote to authorize the borrowing. But the state has suggested the district plan on 5% interest. I'm hoping they can do better, but you got to have a figure to start with anyway. High, I think. If that's the case, the first year interest on $90,000 would be $4,500, and she's given figures for a 10-year loan, and she gave figures for a 5-year loan, and so they are. So the saving, the first one, 10 years, the total interest potential is $24,750. 5 years, the potential interest $13,500. And Thursday night this week, the agenda for the school committee meeting on Thursday night contains the following item: vote on deficit spending amount and to apply to municipal oversight board for borrowing. And however, I have been told, this is Bernardston saying this, but I've been told that the paperwork for that borrowing was filed last week, and I believe my source was reliable. So the question is, does your town wish to try to have this $90,000 removed from the loan, and will each of our towns pay its share for this second year? And I emailed this to Tracy today when I got it. So, and Tracy wondered, can we really affect a change there? I don't know. But I don't like the fact that it's the school committee that's voting what the town will spend and how they'll spend it. So I'm going to the school committee Thursday night, and I think that'll come up. So you hadn't heard anything about it, probably.
No, I
So-
haven't. I mean, I know about the lunch deficit. I haven't heard anything about this
Yeah, yeah.
particularly.
But the
Anybody have
people from the state were saying that yes, you do have to roll it over. I don't think it's the school committee that's saying we want you to roll it over. I think they're saying we're being told that you have to roll it over.
Well, they've said it both ways.
So
You probably would like to see that in black and white someplace if the state is telling
that's what I'm
us to.
saying. If somebody's saying that we have to, we want to see it. That's what I've advocated
we
from the
want-
very beginning. Pay it
yeah.
off as fast as we can. Why do we want to borrow?
That's right. So we'll find out, whether we have, and we're going to probably push, for that option, of saying no. We want to save the town some money on interest. Okay.
We have the free cash available. Didn't we get certified free cash?
Yes, we
Paid
did.
to- Yeah.
Yeah.
We just move it at town meeting and then pay it before the end of the year.
Yes, we could do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Okay.
A question for you, Lois, though. If Bernardston does it, we do it, Leiden doesn't, and Warwick doesn't, are we gonna be splitting the interest on what they're not paying because we're paying early?
eh,
I'd be, but
We pick up, yeah,
if
pick
it's
up
all
their
rolled
interest.
over and it's divided through the school's budget,
yeah,
We
no,
pay
we won't pay
50%.
another town's share.
I'm not,
No, percentage of interest she's talking about.
you just
Would
gotta,
we be assessed the interest?
Oh, I
Of the
see.
remaining
I
because
don't
the
amount.
know.
note will be X.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've paid ours, but they'll charge interest on the X, and then that is split and we'll be paying
Yeah,
50%.
I don't know.
But I think that's something we gotta watch.
Yeah,
It's
It's all
a
a big budget.
bookkeeping matter, and someone would have to do that computation every year
Yes,
to make
yeah.
sure that they split that separately. I mean, it
That's right.
can be split out, but someone would have to do it.
Yeah,
and
we've gotta advocate for it.
what happens if there's
Well-
closure of schools? Okay, now here's a letter I just got in the mail here tonight from Tracy, Chair of the Select Board. Dear Northfield staff and volunteers, I'm very happy to announce that Andrea Lamas starts her first day as Northfield's new town administrator. Today, January 2nd, Bernie will be in from time to time to help Andrea transition, but his official last day as our interim town administrator was December 31st, which was not a work day for him, right?
It was a work day for me in Buckland.
Well, I think he was coming in Wednesdays and Thursdays only.
But I worked on the 2nd. He came in actually on the 2nd.
Yes, yeah. I've known Andrea since we served on the Small Town Administrators Massachusetts group back in 2006. I was brand new town administrator back then, and she was an invaluable resource to help rookies in the field. She has used her JD in law as she worked as a town administrator/administrative assistant for the last 17 years, beginning in Conway, moving on to Ashfield, then to Buckland for the last 10 years. Her investment in serving on regional and statewide organizations will bring lessons learned from other towns to our town. Please help me make Andrea's first few weeks warm and welcoming ones by stopping in to say hello. So here you are.
Yeah. And people have come, so that's great.
Yeah, okay. Here's from the retirement system in tonight's mail. This is assessment. And in recent years, they've said if you make payment in full by July 1st, you get a slight reduction, and we've always done that. You got a copy of this?
I
Brad?
do.
Okay. It's, by the way, it's $180,126 if we pay it all at once. Another one, it's,
It's just a mileage rate notice.
yeah, this is travel. The Internal Revenue Service issued the 2019 optional standard for mileage rates used to calculate the deductible costs of operating an automobile for business, charitable, medical, or moving purposes. Beginning January 1/19, the standard mileage rates for the use of a car, vans, pickups, or panel trucks will be 58 cents a mile driven for business use, up 3.5 cents from the rate for 2018. 20 cents a mile driven for medical or moving purposes, up 2 cents from the rate for 18, that's for your tax return. 14 cents a mile driven in service of charitable organizations. So this is from you, this. Okay, that's communications. And we did have, Debbie sent us before she left, this is what we get, the balance sheet and the different accounts. I like it to see, where there are some donations, accounts and so forth, where they've got those. But she gave us copies of everything, and I sent those out to you. Okay, a lot of stuff here. Tax rate. There was the assessors met with the select board a while back. And of course, we got our tax bills since then, so you know what it is. But the tax rate, $17.40, which is down 46 cents from what it was. I mentioned school committee meeting Thursday night this week over at Pioneer, and so let's see some of the things. New business. It's closure, discussion, and vote on Pearl Roads, the Leiden School. Same thing for the Warwick School. Increase in some rates and donations accepted from Greenfield Savings Bank, $10,000. East Hampton Savings Bank, $1,000. First Light, $1,000. And they're setting up some student activity accounts. And vote on deficit, this is referred to in the memo from Bernardston. Vote on deficit spending amount and to apply to Municipal Oversight Board for borrowing. And lunch reports. And next meeting would be February 14th. Okay. Now let's go into any meetings that you've attended representing the Finance Committee. Bernie, you might have to.
The Governance Committee is continuing to meet. We're going to be meeting this Thursday. We're still in the research and gathering information stage. We're hoping to start hopefully by the end of this month, basically start to write our report and recommendations. So hopefully we'd like to have everything completed in time obviously for town meeting, or earlier if there is a need for any type of ballot issue or anything before a town meeting. But right now we haven't gotten to that point yet. So like I said, we're still completing our research as of now. As in the Public Safety Building Committee, we have not had any meetings and there's been no information generated, so nothing to add.
I think you might be a member of that.
Well, not having been to a meeting, but I'll step in here because I've kind of said this. I've sort of followed along. I've obviously got a lot of paperwork in the office, and
Sure.
I've seen various plans and everything. I haven't explored it a lot, not having had to go to anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I know people are somewhat frustrated that there hasn't been any progress, but I'll just tell you, having been through the experience of building a highway garage, and literally the day I went in the Friday before the week I started here to work with the interim in Buckland, and they were having their very first meeting with their contractor, highway department, highway garage committee, and their clerk of the works, essentially, to start their highway project in Buckland. Is there's no real rush, and I hate to tell you this because you've got such things, you have certain things that have to be done before you can even contemplate building, and one of them is going to be, if you're going to build this and bond it, which is probably what you're going to do because it's probably the only way you're going to be able to borrow that amount of money, you have to have multiple years of audits.
Which we don't have.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say to you that no matter what, even in the best of circumstances, you're 3 years out.
Yeah, I know you need at least minimum 2, preferably at least 3 years of audits.
Right. So-
Is this
we're
more
gonna have to,
audits going forward or past years being officially audited?
Well, it will be the fiscal year. So right now, trying to get the auditor to send a proposal and you would be asking him to audit probably at this point 18, fiscal year 18.
You
Because
couldn't do 17?
Well, it's too far back probably for them. They don't generally, they're not gonna go back and
Usually
audit.
want the most current, at least last
The one
current
you
year and
wrapped up.
forwards.
Yeah.
And the last audit was, I think, fiscal year 11 was the last audit that was done.
So,
And we had discussed in the last year or two about we need to start the frequency of potential of yearly audits here, which we have not done.
So whose budget does that come under?
Select board. Special article, not a budget.
well, you've already asked for some money for an auditor. There was an article.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there was more than that. There was another, now I don't know if it got passed, but I saw a number floating around that was passed somewhere of like $23,000.
Is that for 18?
Well,
I don't
it's
have
for
a
any year,
budget
it's
for
just
that.
an audit. So you
Well,
use it for
They should
18.
do this.
Balance
Presumably, if you could get the
Yeah.
auditor in to do 18,
Should be.
then you would have them come back and do 19. And the reason that I would suggest that you go with 18, I mean, and people are gonna have to understand that because you haven't had one in a number of years, is your management letter, which is where they are gonna spot things, is going to be
That's it,
very
yeah.
interesting. Because it's just going
Sometimes
to
you
be,
have
they're
those
gonna find
articles.
things. It's the nature of the thing. We've had them in, I've had them in years where they've done every year for 3 years because we were having millions of dollars in FEMA money, and they still have something in the management letter, and you've been doing them for the last 2 years. So you can imagine after 6 or 7 years, they're going to have a lot of things that they're gonna want you to address. So you just have to be prepared for that. Nothing's usually critical in crisis, but you're gonna be prepared to see these things they want addressed. And I suspect the best thing to do is not to push that back on too far back. You best start with 18 and move forward. Otherwise, you're going to have 17 where you corrected nothing because you then have 18 right behind it. So better to have 18, which is a year you finished, and then address those things during 19 in the hopes that your 19 management letter will look that much better because you'll have addressed those issues.
Bernie, I thought they were waiting to find out the results of test borings to see about
I
it.
can only say that nothing has been communicated to me,
Yeah, okay.
so.
Is there any way to? No.
I think we'll
Well,
give it a
I
little
did
time.
also, I've asked if the borings were done. I've not had any information on that. I'm sad to say if I haven't. You know, again, I'm not chairman, I can't force the issue, but unfortunately, and then the other thing is, I guess there's a little reticence about the issue when the CPA went down. Is that worthwhile us going forward with, a potential override to finance that? Because that was a concern too, because the
Finance what?
That would be a debt
the
exclusion.
debt
Be debt,
exclusion
yeah.
for a bond. The thing is that the CPA was shot down for, what was it, just a 1% increase. And there was the potential that taxpayers are not open to the idea of
I don't think we should give up, though.
Oh, I don't think we should give up, but I guess that's
And-
gonna have to be an issue that we're gonna have to.
And going along with what
Sorry,
Andrea
I don't
just
try to shovel it
No,
to you,
I've just been through it, and it took years,
Yeah,
many town meetings, and at least 3 proposals.
How many years ago was it was
But
turned
they
down?
passed it.
it was turned down, I think, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it was
Yeah.
turned down
It
because.
was much more
It
money.
was much more money, and we were, but again, too, that was, what was it, over 8 million, I think it was. wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
almost,
Took 3 times for the elementary school,
yeah.
but they kept moving on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just ignoring it, and not
Right,
doing
right.
anything. They kept
I
moving.
agree that we should move forward, because we have a facility that's falling apart.
Well,
At
that's
least
the
fire
thing of it,
station.
based on what she just said and the length of time that it could take to, if we are approving a new facility or addition to what's up there. We've got a floor that we started out wouldn't support in recent years the newer equipment.
You
It's-
know,
Now, we heard that it's
spalling and falling onto the basement.
underneath, down onto the new vehicle. So I think we can't wait for something new to be built. We've got to take care of that problem now. I
Yes.
think that's something we've got to come up with money for very soon.
But again, we need to have the initiative be started from
So that
who's
would be
affected by it.
the,
forward.
Just so you know, when they started doing the renovations to the school over there, the starting point was 8 years before they even broke ground, so.
really,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know.
It took
So
some
now it's
time
only
to
$5
pass.
million.
Skip Dillon is chair, fire chief is chair of this committee. Apparently it's not
It started
called
8 years before that, and 3 years had passed, and then that was only $5 million because the state kicked in the other 17 million.
Okay, Tony, a
But I
CPA
think,
committee.
I just think,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. But moving forward on the audit, those pieces are gonna keep moving forward on that, because that's keeping your ducks
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
to even if you pick that up.
yeah. I don't think the committee should discount and say, well, we can't get anywhere with this. I think we
Oh, I
gotta
don't
try.
think it should be discounted, but I think we also should be realistic that we may have to look at other options versus
Yeah. Yeah,
we can ask for our dream, which may be one consolidated facility, but we may have to look at other options of just a simple repair of the fire station and muddle through with what we have for EMS and police.
yeah.
We may have to look at, if we, that might be a fallback. We should have a fallback position. I think we should move forward if we can on a unified, public safety building. But if that doesn't work, then we should look at a fallback position.
Yeah, and I don't think we should, what I'm saying is, I don't think we should say, well, we can't repair this one. We've got to put the money in to repair it, because
I
it's gonna
think
cost more money in the
I
long.
agree, and I think the fire station's facility needs to be addressed, and very little's been done since it's been built.
Yeah.
And it's now, built in the early 50s, and I
Yeah.
think it sorely needs at a minimum, renovation and
Yeah.
of the facility at a minimum. So, but
Okay.
again, we'll have to see what which way we're going to
Start
go.
would be to have a meeting and talk with them, I think.
Yeah,
Tracy's also on that committee, right?
yeah,
But Skip heads it up.
yes. I just again,
Okay.
maybe part of it has been we've had forgive me the interim town administrator issue. Maybe that may have played in it. I don't know if that's is the case. Again, I think
Yeah.
forgive me. It's great that you have joined us, and hopefully will stay with us for a long period of time. But we need to have that consistency of having a town
Absolutely.
administrator here to help us not only move forward, shepherd us through, give us advice, and help us. Like I said, let's move forward with this.
Right.
Because again, I realize it's not going to be solved in a year. This may take several years,
Yes.
but we need to take at least some steps forward. Because again, just running a place isn't accomplishing anything.
Absolutely.
Okay, Tony, you're the CPA committee.
Well, the CPA is actually going to meet on the 16th. We have a couple of proposals. Right now, we still have until the 15th to get more.
Yes.
Obviously, we're disappointed in the vote of the town at the last election. We thought we had a shot at it anyway, because we did pass it at the town meeting. But we're not giving up on that either. We will continue to do what we do with the monies that we have. So the next meeting, as I said, is on the 16th.
It stays at 0.5%,
Correct.
but you wanted to increase it to 1%, which was additional 0.5%, and that
That's
did not
correct.
pass. But it's still at 0.5%,
Still at 1/2%.
bringing in money.
And
Yeah.
we do get a little money from the state because
Yes.
there's matching funds,
Yeah.
but not a whole lot. So we're rapidly running out of money.
Sure.
And obviously, we would have liked to have that passed, but it didn't, so we'll continue and go where we are.
Okay.
The Heart Committee, if you saw this day's paper, there was an article led to the editor from the head of the Heart Committee.
Yes,
Who was
an
also, not the
article.
head of the Heart Committee, but a member of the Heart Committee who was also head of the school committee.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice. Yeah.
So, and a very good letter, clearing up some things that were wrong in the article
Yeah.
that came forward.
Yes.
They had a meeting last week about Warwick. Well, let me back up a step. We're still dealing with the consultants on revising the, what's the word I want?
The regional
The
agreement.
regional agreement. That's still being
Yeah.
worked on.
Yes.
There's been a couple of changes which we have, I think we have decided on,
Yeah.
but nothing is approved yet. One of them is increasing the school committee actually by one person to indicate an at-large position,
Oh.
which would obviate the situation where we've had tie votes a lot of times.
Yeah, with
So
12
we'll have
members.
13 instead of 12.
Yeah,
We-
you need an
I
odd
guess
number.
This past year, we've had a few 6-6, which means nothing happens.
Yeah.
So that is one thing I think we're in agreement on.
There are 3 members of the Heart Committee from each town, am I
There
right?
are 3
Same as
members
school
of our
committee.
committee from each town.
Yeah.
And like I said, this other member would be for the school committee, not the Heart Committee.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Regional agreement would change that.
Right, and so we're
Okay,
still
all
working
right.
on the wording of the regional agreement. There were a lot of things at our last meeting, a lot of questions that the Warwick Select Board had as far as clearing things up. So we're still working on wording on that. They did discuss what would happen if Warwick School closed.
Yeah.
Well, 2 things. One is, I think there were 65 students in the Warwick School, of which 28 are school choice,
And,
mostly
Yeah.
coming over from Orange and
Yeah.
Ethel.
yeah.
And traditionally, those people have not come to Pioneer. They've gone back to their
Oh.
sending
Yeah.
school, if you want.
For the high school. Yeah.
So that's a problem here. The proposal to close the Warwick School obviously is being voted on Thursday
Yes.
and on the Pro Roads too. But the Warwick School, the savings were anywhere from $215,000 to $240,000, somewhere in that range, to the Pioneer budget.
Yeah.
My understanding is that all of the teachers at Warwick would come over to Northfield.
Oh.
And that's all included in this
Yeah.
thing, but
Yeah.
they would come over to Northfield. So there wouldn't be any, except perhaps the principal. I don't know what the principal is in Warwick, whether it's one of the teachers or not. But in any case,
It's a separate.
all the teachers would come over.
Yeah.
There is space in Northfield for all those teachers, and the increase in size in the all the grades.
Yeah.
It would require some shuffling around of things in Northfield, but there is room there.
I see.
And the size of the school, of the classes, would stay for the most part at around 16,
Yeah.
somewhere in that neighborhood. Some classes having 2. I think there's only one class that would only have 1 classroom, and that was the biggest one, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was the range of savings that they proposed for the Warwick School Committee now. They also talked a little bit about, now that the Warwick would have a facility. The school is no longer it is their facility, and they
Yeah.
have the upkeep on that. So that is a plus for them if they wanted to sell it or whatever it is. They want to do it, use it for town offices, whatever. So there's that. Also, one of the discussion was we were trying to finally get a dollar figure on capital versus maintenance.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
right now, that figure is about $10,000.
Oh,
We're above that capital. And that does not include deferred weight maintenance or somebody who just kind of puts things off until they get over that.
yeah, yeah.
But there are some language in there for that. And that alone, I think, would be a plus because they've been going back and forth on this for how many years?
Oh, yeah, quite a few.
Long time.
Definition of capital versus
Capital versus-
operational
right.
expense and who pays
So,
for it, so.
They think they're going with the state requirements as far as what is considered capital and putting in this $10,000 minimum.
Yeah,
So that's, again, still in flux.
sure, okay.
Tonight, the same meeting is happening with Pearl Roads,
Yeah,
as
okay,
happened with Warwick.
yeah,
I would anticipate the savings to be in the same range as Warwick. So it looks like, close $450,000 to $500,000 savings to Pioneer, perhaps.
what is this that the superintendent has told them that maybe the district could help with some of the expenses of their building maintenance after, if their school is closed?
That was discussed, and as far as the committee is concerned, if the school is closed,
All right,
it's the town's responsibility now.
okay, because
Okay, that is what the feeling is right now.
Because look at it, we always talk about Northfield's share is usually right around 50% of anything from Pioneer. And if they're going to say, well, we'll help you with your building expenses, that's coming.
I don't think that's
Okay.
going to fly.
Good.
But again, everything's still up in the
Yeah,
air.
sure. Okay.
And the Leiden students will be moved
to
to
Bernardston.
Bernardston.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the one in Warwick, if they moved everybody, including school choice, which is problematic,
Yes.
over to Northfield,
Yeah.
Northfield could accommodate everybody and,
Yes.
and bring all those people over.
Could Bernardston accommodate?
Bernardston could also accommodate all of Leiden.
Okay.
Leiden still has the option of school choicing out.
Yes.
There's
yeah.
been some talk at the Leiden about school choicing out to Greenfield,
Yeah.
which is
Their
people's
option.
prerogative.
Yeah.
But there's a meeting tonight
Okay.
to discuss some of that stuff and put a figure on this, how much it would save.
Mm-hmm.
But I would guess that it'd be in the, let's say, in the neighborhood of $225,000, roughly. Leiden only has 33 students.
At least a third of them are choice in, I think.
Yeah, they're not nearly as many as
No.
in Warwick. Warwick is supposed to have.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that meeting is tonight.
Okay. Well,
Good article though by the head of the school committee and a member of the art committee.
yes.
Sue
Yeah.
O'Reilly.
Yes, I saw that today.
In
Yeah.
today's paper.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions about that? Thank you. I went to, let's see, there was a curriculum / personnel subcommittee meeting. I don't have the date. But anyway, it was in December. And the reason I went was because they were going to be talking about the school resource officer. And so there were between 25 and 30 people there. Some, the chiefs of each of the 4 towns were there. And so, there was someone from the state trooper from the district attorney's office and so forth, and different ones. And apparently the superintendent has not agreed to having somebody there yet as a school resource officer. And there's a little, there was no out and out conflict there at the meeting. It was a discussion, but the school committee feels that they should have input into writing the job description and input into advertising for the position and the selection of the position. I'm not sure they have the experience to make that kind of decision. And the law is that the police chief in the town where your school is located is in charge over that, so that makes it Northfield. And so the discussion, and I think there's going to be more discussion on that, but so far there's no one over there at the present time. There was an officer and he quit. Northfield provides a full-time position if the officer wants it. They do the school job and they can take shifts in Northfield to make it up to a full-time position. And Northfield pays their benefits. The district contributes $28,000 toward the salary, which about half. And then you figure that Northfield pays half of that too. So, but no decisions yet. There hasn't been another meeting that I'm aware of about that, so that's pending. There are parents now that are beginning to say, we want a school resource officer over there. Okay. I went to the budget subcommittee on January 2nd. There's a new chair of that. He's newly elected from Bernardston, and he pushed for advanced schedules of all the different subcommittees over there, and so they'd know what their schedules were, and so they've worked on that. Let's see, what else? And there was a full school committee meeting here in December. The 4 chairs of the finance committees, if you remember back in October, when the select boards and finance committees met over in Bernardston, they said that they wanted the finance committees in each town to come up with what we could propose, and then the 4 chairs get together and come up with one figure. So we were looking to report that to the first budget subcommittee meeting, and he was having trouble getting it scheduled over there. And so we, my counterpart in Bernardston, got us on the agenda for the full school committee meeting. And I wrote out a paper, and she wrote one out. The woman from Warwick spoke on it, and there was a substitute from Leiden because the other one couldn't make it, but she said she fully supported what the other towns were saying. So the gist of this is, too, that when the state people were out here in August, we went to that meeting, they were saying that to the school committee, you should be very grateful. Your district has given you 64% above the minimum contribution, and the state average is 24% above. So it tells you something. So when we talk about making cuts over there, I don't think we need to feel a bit guilty. We've been doing well at the financing of it. So anyway, so that's that. And then the only other thing I wanted to remind people of, do you remember at the meeting in Bernardston, they said, when it was the Bernardston selectmen that said, we would like to meet quarterly to just discuss mutual concerns. And we said it, and they said they wanted to meet in Northfield, and we set a date for January 28th. Now that goes back to a Monday. And so that, we'll have that meeting here. Along with the new trend though, where, not new, it's good, where you're all facing each other. There isn't room, I figured it'd be about, 25, 30 people for that. You get finance committees and select boards. There isn't room here, and they don't have tables enough to make it that way. So, and the acoustics down in the auditorium are terrible. And so we may need downstairs. We've got to work that out. So that's a possibility of what That's the next meeting. Okay, we have another meeting scheduled for each of the next 2 Tuesdays. Next week, I have scheduled the EMS department and the open space committee to come in. So,
Just those two.
yes. Well, I think one may be longer and one may be shorter. I don't know. And then we always can fill in. Dan's willing to fill in with the town clerk budget.
And Beth too.
And Beth too. With, I think it's during January she can't make the meetings, but then in February she'll be able to. And she's going to make. She's going to be at this 28th meeting and take minutes for us. When we went to Bernardston, it was a member of the finance committee that took those notes, but I've talked to Beth and she could do it. And so I guess that's it. Yeah, I'm still working on getting people in. For the next week, I've got one scheduled, Council on Aging, and I haven't finished filling it out yet. So, does anybody else have anything they'd want to say? Andrea, any comments?
No.
Thank you for coming. We hope you can make more of them.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
Yes. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion we adjourn.
Okay. Dan made the motion to adjourn. Bonnie said, did you? Bonnie seconded. Any objection? Let's go.
All in favor?